Welcome to episode 2 of Mr. Shu's lecture series. In the previous episode, we discussed that, as we enter the age of AI, mathematics learning must undergo a paradigm shift. And the result of this shift is not to make mathematics harder, but quite the opposite, to make it easier, more natural, and even like physical education, where most students feel happy and confident. This may sound like a fantasy, but when we break down the underlying principles step by step, you will find that it is entirely achievable. This transformation is built on 3 foundations. First, the first principles of mathematics itself. Second, the deep structure of the human brain and cognitive development. Third, 2 fundamentally different pathways of teaching and learning. Today, we start with a very basic question that is also very easy to mislead students. Does learning mathematics have to begin with counting? Almost all textbooks, teachers, and parents would say, start by counting from 1 to 10, then to 20, and then learn addition and subtraction, moving from single-digit numbers to double-digit numbers. This is a form of deconstructed mathematics, designed by experts after breaking mathematics into pieces, and it appears to make sense. But for many children, this is the first step in creating math anxiety. Let me share a real example. In Gilbert Public Schools, children around the age of 3 can take the Cognitive Abilities Test, COGAT, to identify gifted children. A friend's daughter was identified as having mathematical talent. She could count from 1 to 20. Her mother asked her, which is bigger, 1 or 2? Correct. Which is bigger, 2 or 3? Also correct. But when asked, which is bigger, 3 or 4? She answered with great certainty, 3 is bigger. That was the largest number she truly understood. And it matched what a typical 3-year-old's cognition allows. Everything beyond that was just a string of meaningless sounds. A 3-year-old's brain is not yet ready to understand concepts like 4, 5, 6. Of course, she was corrected, perhaps even laughed at. From that moment on, she began to experience something she would hear again and again. Mathematics is important, but it is difficult to learn. She directly experienced the incomprehensibility of mathematics. She even began to feel that she was not a math person, not someone with mathematical talent. This is a very common, but extremely wrong and harmful belief. Here I want to point out, at the K-12 level, I have never encountered such a person. When we force a child to compare 3 and 4, this is not training, it is a cognitive level blow. This is a typical example of pulling up seedlings to help them grow. So what should we do? Do not teach counting first. Instead, let the child become familiar with quantities. The quantities that exist in the real world and daily life. They can be simple or very large. The key difference is whether the child finds them interesting. For example, does the cat have more feet or does your hand have more fingers? The cat must be physically present. The legs of insects, the tentacles of an octopus, these should all be experienced with real objects. A concert today was very lively, with thousands of people. Being able to state the number of a cat's legs is excellent, but at this stage it should not be forced. Do not rush to correct, do not try to teach, and especially do not test the child. What you should do is let the child encounter more real quantities and enrich their experience. When this accumulation reaches a certain level, the child will naturally begin to think, which is more? Which is less? At that moment, the ability to compare will emerge automatically. This is a natural function of the brain. You do not need to teach it, and you cannot stop it. So the real teaching principle is, it is not that you teach the child, but that you let the child teach you. When they realize something, they become an active learner. As long as the child realizes something, they enjoy teaching you. When they teach you, they become a happy little teacher. If they cannot teach yet, that is not a problem. It simply means they have not yet seen enough of the world. What teachers and parents most need to restrain is the impulse. Let me tell you the answer. Very often, this is not helping. It weakens the child's cognitive development and forces them into becoming a passive receiver. Trust the brain. Provide experience. Wait for structure to form naturally. This is the core method of today's lecture. To cultivate children into active explorers, rather than forcing them to become passive receivers.